Hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to RaceSpotTV, and welcome back to the Radical Esports Cup. This is the second round of the Season 1 here in 2026, coming to you today from Oulton Park. My name is Ron Mullins. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Jeremy Scott. Ramiro Augustine Cisneros is our producer for tonight's broadcast. Off the back of a fantastic race 1 week ago here on the iRacing Esports Network at Sebring, we're here at another somewhat draft-heavy racetrack and a staple of these Radical SR10s. Oulton Park has played the host of some of the best Radical SR10 racing I've ever had the privilege of covering. So, Jeremy, I really think that this is the fantastic, maybe the best way to round off the year of 2025 here for the Radicals.
I don't disagree. And first off, happy Boxing Day to those of you watching. It'd be wrong not to wish you all that, especially where we are and where Radical is based. And of course, it's interesting because you mentioned drafting. There are more than 2 opportunities for these cars to draft off each other. I'm really excited to see how this race is going to turn out.
Oh, this is going to be a wild one, and doubly so considering we're running on the chicaneless version of this racetrack as well. It is going to be a wild race, part of a wild schedule that we've got as well. You can see the rest of it on screen. Catalunya going to play the host of the next round of the championship to kick off the calendar year of 2026. For now, though, we have Oulton Park. As I've said, this track has played host to some amazing racing in the past year with these Radical SR10s. These cars are draft heavy, very tricky to run around a racetrack at full speed, but if you can get into a groove, it can work out amazing for you. And last time out, Christoph Lipp was able to grab the W in a heart-pumping finish at Sebring. That track always puts on some good racing. This track does as well. So really looking forward to seeing what kind of competitive action we have in store for you here today. Currently in the midst of qualifying, a reminder to those tuning into this series for the very first time, either on the RaceSpotTV YouTube channel or on the iRacing Esports Network. First off, welcome. Delighted to be a part of your evening here tonight. But here's the qualifying format. 8-minute session, 2 laps solo. These drivers do not share the racetrack with one another. They can just focus on themselves and focus on their driving and try and get the max out of it, which may seem a little bit easy, but these SR10s usually take about 2 or 3 laps to fully get into a groove. So even these qualifying sessions are a bit of a test.
No, they really are. I mean, you got to stop and figure these are the power to weight ratio with these SR10s is absolutely astounding. And these things fly no matter where they go. And with this being an old school circuit built in the 50s and not changed too much since this opened up back in the late 50s, you know, this is going to be an interesting sort of race for these drivers. You see Ryan Odo out there on the circuit trying to log his first flyer. One thing that I really like about this, you know, not only is this a track that a lot of drivers, when they get onto the service, they learn how to race here, but it is such great elevation as you're traveling around. As Juan Perez lost him for a little bit, but Odo looking pretty fast right now. Ivani is your fastest now. As I go to speak that, Andre Castro, no surprise there, seeing him at the top of the board.
And keeping an eye on Ryan Odo, a standout star in the Radical Americas champion, a 2-time reigning vice champion in that series. Finished second in the previous year to Lucas Vieira, finished second this year to Aiden Young. Very talented racer in his own right. He's done well in the leagues. He's done well in these officials as well. He actually hosts private coaching lessons as well to drivers as well. He knows his way around these SR10s quite well, as does our current provisional pole sitter, 2-time reigning Radical Official Series champion Andre Castro, yet to visit victory lane this season, which doesn't really say much considering we've only had one of these 2100 GMT broadcasted races thus far. However, once again up towards the top with some rather familiar names up there, including Havard Gullikson, who was your champion in season 1 of 2025.
Yeah, a lot of fast drivers up at the top that we're used to seeing. We're watching not only Ole Gullikson on his flyer, but Sebastian Lipp as well. The driver to watch out for in that number 4 inert SR10, making his way down the penultimate straightaway, heading into Lodge Corner. Then you got to go through Deer Leap, which does catch drivers out just because you lose so much of your weight through there, and you have to go up. The seat air time is just absolutely astounding. 22.3, the fastest that he can do. Not able to beat his time, as looks like he might have had an off there. So this is going to be interesting to see if Lipp has to come from the back of the pack.
Yeah, that is one thing to raise about this racetrack. It is old school. You got just grass and gravel on the outside of these turns. You don't have any sort of sophisticated asphalt runoff area, far from it, in fact. So if you run a little bit wide here, pick up a 1X, even a 0X as well, you're going to get an invalidated lap time with 2 laps allotted to these racers. Doesn't matter what you do on the 3rd, 4th, or 5th lap, if you can cram one in this 8-minute session, that won't count. So right there, that is going to be rather fascinating if you can't get a lap time on the board. Only about a minute and a half left to go in this session as we see Peter Ivani really hauling the mail into the final heave-ho of the lap through Lodge Corner. It mentioned a good point earlier on as well, Jeremy, talking about how this racetrack really packs a punch when it comes to the elevation change. I'm sure we'll be talking about that a lot throughout this show. As what time did Ivani set as he came across the line? Looked pretty quick. If that's 119 is going to stay, which I don't think it will. If that did stay, that would have been pole, but I think he may have picked up an invalidation, as probably will Dennis Kiriakopoulos, as I see him running wide heading out of Druids.
And the checker flag is out, so yeah, that tells me that we'll see Sebastian Lipp come from the back of the pack. It's a shame that Ivignani was not able to set that time, because I think we're going to have a fun race here with Castro and Ivignani going toe-to-toe with each other, as we're just about set for the grid.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the starting grid here for the second one of these 2100 GMT broadcasted races here in Season 1 of 2026. That's going to be the driver with the number 1 on his car, Andre Castro, starting from the pole. Peter Eveny will join him on the front row. It's going to be Christoph Lipp in 3rd, Havard Gullikson in 4th, Sebastian Lipp in P5 alongside Rudolf Nagel in 6th. Row number 4 and P7 will be Ryan Odo. Alongside him will be Kettle Larson. Dennis Kiriakopoulos will start this race in 9th. Heinz Braun rounds out your top 10. Samir Kadura, series veteran, will start this race in 11th, alongside Aaron Stipos, a driver who's rather newer here to these Radical SR10s. Ole Gullikson will start in lucky spot P13, alongside the driver of the number 13 car, that being another series veteran in the form of Robert Woodward. Juan Perez will start this race in 15th, alongside Cesar Fernando Salas, with Alexander Vermich rounding out your 17-car field here in this race, covering the top split action as per usual here in these Radical SR10s. Quickly want to touch on the conditions that we've got on there on the racetrack at the moment. It's always pretty vital in these SR10s. Not really hot in terms of the track temperature, only 74 degrees Fahrenheit. I believe that works out to be about 24 degrees C, with 65 degrees Fahrenheit being the ambient temperature. So just cool enough for these cars to produce a boatload of power, but not warm enough for these tires to really be hot. As we get the green flag flies, the drivers are on their way, and an even keel start with our front row sitters. Look at Peter Eveny challenging Castro for the race lead, and he gets it down into 1.
Well, we saw what kind of speed even he had in the qualifying session, but you know what? Castro might want to save those tires, so pretty smart start from him. Christoph Lipp and Havard Gullikson also looking pretty good, but everybody's single file. You got to go all the way back to Woodward and Vermich. Vermich up 2 spots from his starting spot as he's up to 5th.
Yeah, drivers looking to cut their way through the field like a hot knife through butter. Even he didn't cut his way entirely through the field. He only had to go up 1 spot. One driver dropping down, though, like an anvil push out of a helicopter, is Ryan Odo, after singing the praises of him earlier on. An early mistake, I think, maybe hang down to Shell Oil's corner of turn 5. May have just caught him out. We're going to take a look at the replay to see what exactly may have gone on with the driver. Was there potentially contact? Big logjam stack up, and yeah, losing it big time. The brakes in these SR10s are incredibly touch and go. One small little check up and you're going to be done for. Unfortunately for Ryan Odo, learned that lesson the hard way, heading down into turn number 5, which is tricky enough in usual cars, but in these rather tough to manage SR10s, that really just adds to the challenge.
Well, and you got to stop and figure, too, you have 2 opportunities before you get to Shell Oil's corner to get those brakes warmed up from a standing start. And that's no surprise that, the back end just swapped out. And that's easy to do in these first couple of laps with these SR10s. They are oh so finicky. Look at the gap that Castro and Christoph Lipp have among one another. Castro trying to catch up to Eveny, as we saw the fast lap that got invalidated. Though, I've got to say this, it's a great surprise to see somebody else try and battle the old guards. You're looking out the back of Andre Castro. I've got to say, if it wasn't for the colors, you'd say that Castro and Lipp are on the same team, because that BS hybrid paint scheme on the Radical really looks similar to the inner schemes.
Yeah, and that inert team is an absolute powerhouse in these SR10s. You can always tell those striking cars, and pretty good stable of drivers they have as well. James Barry, a consistent fixture here in these Radical SR10s, a four-time champion in these cars as well here in these officials. A look as well, Christoph Lipp, of course, a winner last time out at Sebring. He's got some pretty good prowess in these SR10s. The 2025 Radical European champion, the 2024 Radical World Finals champion here on iRacing. Very quick racer in his own right, but of course Andre Castro, the two-time and reigning series champion in the Radical Esports Cup officials. A reminder, folks, this is not a private league race, as our colleague Jared Gregory always says. This is a top split action from the official Radical SR10 series. If you have above a C class, I believe it's above a D class. If you have a C class license or higher, you can race in these cars, pick, and you can make the time slot that we cover here. You can make it to top split. You can be on RaceSpotTV and the iRacing Esports Network and battle with some of the best SR10 drivers that we've got here on the entirety of the platform. Looking at some side-by-side battling right there in the back, a shot. Havard Gullikson and Sebastian Lipp looked like they were battling, as I think Gullikson was one running wide out of two.
Yeah, Lipp has been closing in on Gullikson, so no surprise that they're battling. Also watching Ryan Odo. He's already up 3 spots from his early race spin. He was at the tail end, Charlie, and now we see a little bit of popping out there. I know a couple drivers were trying to warm up their tires down the Hilltop Straight, so no surprise that we're seeing some popping out and seeing what's going to happen in these next couple of corners. But as much as we talk about this being an aerodynamic track run, this is a very tough place to pass, especially from Knickerbrook all the way into Cascades. And you're wondering, well, how much is that? That's 2/3 of the track, so you really have to pick and choose where you're going to take your battles, because you may get one wheel wrong, and the guy you're trying to chase, they're going to really open up that gap.
Yeah, it's pretty much just the dog-leg detour on this racetrack. As soon as these racers get to stretch out their legs and jam on that throttle, that's when you can get the moves done. Everywhere else, though, the times that you can get an overtake done through the second and final sectors on this lap, and really the start of the lap, too, you pretty much just have to rely exclusively on a driver in front of you running into some sort of trouble. Big enough trouble whereby they completely clear the racetrack in front of you. If they get a small little trip up, maybe a sideways snap out of a turn and just have to check up someone, you have to check up behind. That's the worst case scenario, because that will be when those big gaps start to grow. You just hit the nail right on the head there, Jeremy. I think the best way I could describe these Radical SR10s, though, talking about now the style of racing they put together, most certainly the way you gotta treat this car out there on the track, as somebody who's been covering these cars for the better part of 3 years now, and somebody who's driven them rather extensively myself. It's kind of like baking. If you get the right ingredients, if you get the right technique down, nothing will taste sweeter in the world, and you'll feel really proud of yourself. But if you mess one thing up, you're going to end up with a baked brick, essentially.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. And you know, the SR10s are one of the cars that I think the iRacing has really gotten right when it comes to this game, as we see Castro closing in on your leader, Ivany, down into the Cascades as they work their way through Denton, now through the Cascades. This is going to be a great opportunity for your defending series champion to catch up and see what he can do heading into Shell Oil's corner. But, you know, you take a look at some of the drivers who have made races in the real SR10, and you really took the essence of that, because, oh, look at the outside. Castro loses it. Oh, he locked up his brakes and lost second place, maybe even third, as now Lipp gets a chance to close in on Ivany. But that is the mistake that you can make heading into Shell Oil's corner, because as you saw, it is banked there, and you're really going in there at high speed. But back to what I was saying, this is the SR10 is one of those cars where if you can get it right, it's going to treat you fantastic.
Yeah, as our RaceSpotTV colleague Jared Gregory always says, mastery of the SR10 will make you better in just about everything that you drive. And even looking at some of the racers that we've got in this series, they are very versatile racers in their own right. The driver I mentioned a bit earlier on, James Barry, he's a champion in Formula Ford competition. As look at Castro going for the dive, heading off into the final turn. Side by side over Deer Leap, they're going to go on to the start-finish, not so straight straightaway. Who's going to win out in this battle? Will it be Christoph Lipp, your winner last time out? Will it be Castro? Castro, you can give it to Castro, your reigning champion. Talking about another very talented racer here in these SR10s, Andre Castro, of course, champion in Radical Esports Cup competition, race winner several times in these 2100 GMT broadcasted races. But outside of the sim racing world, you can see he's part of the BS competition hybrid team. That hybrid stable is part of a group of racers who are both talented in the sim and very talented in real life. Somebody who I have very much so become familiar with ever since I sold a cartoon way back in 2016. Morgan Burkhardt, who races a Grand Sport Porsche and IMSA Michelin Pilot Series. He's actually part of that team as well. Andre Castro, meanwhile, he's a Team USA scholarship winner, won it back in 2021. He's racing Euro NASCAR, NASCAR Xfinity competition. He's also run in various open wheel racing here in the U.S., in the Road to Indy, in the USF Junior Series and USF 2000 competition. We've got some super talented racers in these SR10s, all of various backgrounds, some backgrounds of which could actually grow at because they mastered these cars first.
Not to mention a front runner in Michelin Pilot Challenge TCR class competition, which, as you know, is a very competitive class. So you take a look at Andre Castro, and he's one of those drivers who has done it all. Here's Oleg Gullikson coming around Old Hall Corner, and that is so easy to do. You hit those rumble strips, and you just snap loose and right into the wall you go. Let's see how hard he hits it, if he can hit it square. That's what you want to do. You want to hit it square.
Yeah, I gotta say, this is probably the first time that has ever been said in the history of motorsports broadcasting. Of all the ways to smack a wall, that's probably the best way to hit a wall. You know, you just hit it perfectly flush, perfectly square. It's not gonna look pretty. Probably gonna have a little bit of scraping. I don't think the mechanics are going to be too happy about that. But one person who will not be happy about that, though, is the tow truck driver, because he can't get some extra work, as that damage certainly severe, but it could have been a heck of a lot worse. So, Oleg Gullikson running in P15 at the current moment, only 2 drivers he's in front of his Cesar Fernando and Ryan Oda, who have both run into difficulties in their own right. I do want to give a bit of love to a driver that I don't think we've focused on up to this point in the race. Somebody who's getting some love in the YouTube chat as well on this broadcast. Samir Kadora in the number 12 car, running in 9th at the current moment. It's been a pretty topsy-turvy race for a vast majority of the field. But the driver running in that spot started in P11, was running in 12th not too long ago. He has really cut his way through the pack.
No, he really has, and you're kind of watching him make his way around. Let's see what he's got. Dennis Kirakopoulos coming up on him as well. They're about 3 seconds up, but if he can continue running those lap times, he's going to look pretty good in that 8th spot. We see Castro opening up a gap between he and Lip, but I've got to say this, Ivany really showing his worth, running 19s, low 20s, but Castro just ran his fastest lap of the race with a 19.985, so he's got his sights set on that lead. I'll see if he can catch up there as Sipos gets around Cadora as well for the 9th spot, so lots of battling near the middle of the pack, but I've got to say this, Lip, he's still trying to catch up to Castro there, not too far away from them are Gullikson and Sebastian Lip.
Yeah, not too far off of Sebastian Lip is Kettle Larson, Havard Gullikson's teammate. So we talked about the powerhouse that is the Inert team, originally named insert name E-Racing Team. Fantastic team name, really fantastic team too. A lot of the drivers that you see up and down the field, Christoph and his brother Sebastian, Dennis Kirakopoulos, George Gonzaga, who's not racing in this event, James Berry, who's not racing in this event, but some of the best drivers in these SR10s are a part of that team. But you can also see the IGL coding stable that Havard Gullikson and Kettle Larson are a part of as well. Very talented racers in their own right. Of course, Havard Gullikson, past champion, won the championship back in season 1 of 2025 in a rather convincing fashion, and ever since then he has been in title contention since, and also grabbed a couple of race wins this past season, if my memory serves me correctly, in the 2025 Radical European Championship. So very quick racers, a part of many of the teams. I wonder, of course, schedule depending, obviously, if Andre Castro's BS hybrid competition team will maybe grow into these cars as well, because of course Andre, he's punched a pretty big hole in it. I would love to see some more BS drivers end up in the series.
And there's a lot of fast drivers in that BS hybrid stable. If you look up and down the GT, oh, look at this battle as Sipos trying to hold off Kadura once again. They're side by side heading into Knickerbocker. Kadura gets that for now, but Sipos will take that back. And man, this is absolutely fantastic out of both of these drivers making their way into the top level split. By the way, love the Martini livery, but either way, both of these drivers going tooth and nail. You can almost say they're going 10-10s. You also have Braun and Hierakopolis. They're going down the front straightaway for 7th spot. Braun has a 1-2 car lengths gap ahead of the driver of the number 10 car for 7th, but still, these two have been neck and neck all race long as well.
I just want to say that Aaron Sipos clearly shaken and not stirred in that battle there. See, I can make that joke since I'm of legal drinking age, but that was very much so cheap regardless. But yeah, this battle for 7th is going to be intense. Two drivers with very different driving styles in these SR10s. Heinz Braun usually a bit more on the aggressive end, and that aggressiveness nearly came back to bite him on the backside, heading off in 5. You can see him hopping the berm a little bit, the banking on that turn. It's good to help you out to keep the momentum rolling. The problem is, bringing back the baking analogy that I said a little bit earlier on, I think I could say it in the sense of, trying to put seasoning on a chicken breast in an odd way. It's either all or nothing heading off into that turn. It makes it feels like they're going to be all or nothing, but there is actually a little bit of middle ground. If you go all the way into turn number 5, you're going to use up that banking rather quickly, because in these SR10s, there does come a point where the tires and the aerodynamics are going to say, no, and they're just going to fly you off the road. And considering that the off-track area around there, the small little patch of grass, doesn't have the same banking of the racetrack, you're in for a world of hurt if you go off the racetrack there. Andre Castro certainly in for a world of hurt as he ran wide out of 1.
You know what? And that's an area where we really got to watch out for. And I'm going to use the analogy. Yeah, you use too much seasoning, and as a smoker, you got to season your meat. But if you do too much of it, it's going to come back, and you're going to have to take some water there at the end and cool off. And we saw that Castro had to take that opportunity and cool off his brakes after that lap 4 incident where he just went wide and now is into the throes of Christoph Lipp. He's been there most of the race. You start to see that car get bigger and bigger. Now Lipp's going to try and look to the inside, headed towards Knickerbocker, still too far away to make something happen, but that has given Ivany a chance to open up. I was worried about Old Hall Corner. Surprised a lot of these drivers have not chanced it too much. It almost came and whacked him upside the head as Gullickson falls back to 6th.
Yeah, I feel like there's only so many times that you can get hit by a falling anvil before you're going to say, you know what, I'm just going to carry around the Acme Strength umbrella for the rest of my life. Old Hall Corner, you can get a move done there on lap 1, but pretty much everywhere else, that turn, you pretty much just have to dab on the brakes, go down a gear potentially, aim for the apex, and hope you don't run off the lattice heading out of there. Oh, that's Havard Gullickson. Pretty significant curve whack for him, and that's why he is dropped down to P. He's already dropped down to P6. Yeah, I was keeping an eye on that. So he's actually behind his teammate Kettle Larson in the midst of that. So we'll have to see how that inter-team dynamic gets shaken at there. They have lost touch of the drivers farther up the road as Andre Castro and Christoph Lipp running about 2 seconds, a little bit under that in the reference of Christoph and Sebastian's gap. However, the gap has most certainly grown out in that battle for the final 2 podium spots compared to the rest of the top 5 and more, as Peter Ivany still holding on to a 2-second gap. The thing about these SR10s is if you can break away, it's pretty hard to actually break into a driver's slipstream unless there's a little bit of chicanery at play, which, looking at Peter Ivany, I'm going to look through to see exactly where the next closest car is to him. Yeah, the next closest car is Ryan Odo heading out of turn number 3 right now, so I don't think we'll have lap traffic between now and the final 5 laps in this race.
No, and you know what? Let's let it be a straight-up race. We'll see if Castro and Lipp might try something to close up, but really, with the laps that Ivany's been running, it's just not even worth it. Just under 120 out of your leaders. They work their way once again around the circuit, and yeah, Castro, what should have been for the young American, just losing in Shell's Oil Corner, and that likes to bite out a lot of drivers as some of these cars just taking a wheel off with Larson Larson and Gullickson being the ones taking the left rear off. You're on board with Kettle Larson. He's fourth corner, almost darn near flat out through Cascades. Let's see how he handles Shell Oil's corner, trying to close in on Sebastian Lip for that fourth spot. Heavy on the brakes, and yeah, it's one of those weird corners where you've got a trail brake, and then really you're still downshifting once you get to the apex, so you still got to keep your speed though.
As we run on board with Kendall Larson, look at the run and the draft that you get in these SR10s, but the problem is, heading off into Knickerbrook of turn number 7, you've got to take a pretty large brave pill if you want to go for a move off in there. I forget what season of SpongeBob it was when Mr. Krabs had to take the giant pill. That's pretty much what you got to do to get a move done heading off into turn number 7 here in these SR10s. They're hauling the mail, heading down into that section of the racetrack as well. Uninterrupted, flat-out run from the exit of 5 through into the braking zone of turn number 7, which, let's face it, of all the turns in the racing world, that is really not one where you got to drop the anchors too significantly. So that is, if you ever want to see an SR10 running at 10/10ths, that is a place to try and find it. At the end of that straightaway, Kendall Larson was knocking on the door of nearly 160 miles an hour, 155 on the dot, as he nearly tried to go for the move on Sebastian Lip. I think that's a worry about this no chicane layout. I'm going to throw out a potentially controversial opinion and say that this, if it were me, I would have maybe run the layout with the second chicane. It's cool to see these cars hauling the mail. It's always fantastic to see a race car at terminal velocity, but I think if they had the slightly tight and most certainly fiddly chicane that I know is kind of like Marmite, some people love it, others absolutely despise it, I think that would have made overtaking a little bit easier at the end of that back flat-out blast.
It might have, but then again, we wouldn't see the high commitment through Druid's corner, which on a good day is a tough corner. It's like having Malord. You know, you have to take it at some point, so you might as well go full bore, and yeah, no, you don't want to do it ever again, but here, unfortunately, they have to keep going and going and going. Castro's closed within, has closed 0.4 of a second on Evigny with only just a handful of laps left. Working lap number 15 as they come across the line once again. 1.7 seconds separates your leader from the Castro Lip battle here. That's another 3 seconds back to the Sebastian Lip group. And yeah, you see that even Christoph Lip is closing in on Castro. So it's a matter of when, maybe if, as Castro dips down for a nice defensive move going through Lakeside into Island Bend.
Yeah, I think these two racers that we've got on screen at the moment, I think they are starting to abandon the chase of Peter Evigny, because although they could only close up about another half a second and maybe be within the draft range of Peter Evigny, I think the draft range is a little bit longer on this racetrack, just considering how long the flat-out blast is. I think they're going to start attacking each other before they try and close up that gap, as proven by Christoph Lip trying to go for the move into 7. It scared Andre Castro a little bit. It spooked him into a moment. He runs wide, hops the berm, hits the curb, hop, skipping a jump over the grass. He's still holding on to second at the moment. For now, though, this battling is still going to be intense in the run-up through to the end. Keeping an eye on the entire field as we saw some battling a little bit farther behind. I believe Aaron Sipos was briefly in a battle with himself and Samir Kadora, but I think Kadora may have had a moment in his own right. Yeah, let's take a look at heading down into turn number 7, and there's Kadora, very similar to what we saw with Andre Castro. That's what would have gone down if they went side by side, probably.
Yeah, you really got to keep on the racing line. Look at Lip going to the outside of Castro. A little bit of a touch in there as Lip has to let off the gas and fight another day. They lost a whole second to Evigny through that battle from Old Hall Corner through the avenue and into Denton's. But that battle for second was getting just a little too spicy there as we got about 2 laps left to go in this race. So we'll see if Lip has anything left for the defending champion. You take a look at the replay, and I think there was just a little bit of touchy there. We'll see what the race stewards have to say. I want to see what happens here into Cascades, if there was touch or, yep, there was definitely some contact there as a little bit of a hip check. I thought we were in an NHL game instead of a Radical Cup race.
Yeah, invoking the Broad Street Bullies heading out of turn number 1. Next thing you know, I think Andre Castro may start hucking some snowballs at Santa Claus. I think you'll get that reference, Jeremy, because I think you're the one that told me about that many moons ago in one of the first shows that we did, in fact. In the meantime, though, before we start talking about Philly sports fans being an interesting breed, we're getting up to crunch time here in this race. Peter Even, he has taken the white flag. One more lap to go for him to try and secure the win. I think maybe the first win in my entire time covering these 2100 GMT broadcasted Radical SR10 official series races, which dates back all the way back to the end of season 1 of 2023. So it's been a very long time. He's running these cars for quite some time, but I think he's really come into his own as of late. Showed some strong speed last time out at Sebring. Of course, showing some good speed here tonight at Oulton Park. About a half a lap away now from grabbing a checkered flag. Looking at Sebastian Lip, Kettle Larson, and Havard Gullickson, though, even though Peter Even driving away, the battling is still far from over in these final 2 spots and the first spot out of it for the top 5.
Well, the only fan base that I know of that boos Santa Claus actively, Lip, Larson, and Gullickson, nose to tail. You saw the snake method there as everybody trying to shake everyone off for that 4th spot. But the teammates, they might have a chance here in the final couple of corners as your leader ran off and hid. But still, this is one of those races that Eveny's going to love.
Yeah, he's going to be very happy about it. A peaceful day, a tranquil day behind the wheel for Peter Eveny as he comes across a line to win it here at Oulton Park. Peter Eveny takes round number 2 of this Radical SR10 season. Andre Castro comes home in a hard-fought second, although Christoph Lip may not be too big of a fan of it. Peter Eveny burning it down to the ground, coming at turn number 1. Don't strike the cone. It may be a close call here. Oh, he did knock it over. That is just about as impressive as his dominating victory here today. But what a race for round number 2 of the season, week 2 of the Radical Esports Cup in season 1 of 2026. If you have enjoyed the action, well, how about you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. It's been a good start to this season. The heart-pumping action at Sebring, another exciting race here at Oulton Park. And let's take a look at your race results. Peter Eveny walks away with the W. Andre Castro, your reigning champion, yet to visit victory lane, will finish right behind in second. It's Christoph Lip running at your podium in third in front of his brother Sebastian Lip in fourth. Kettle Larson walks away with the top 5 finish right in front of his own teammate in the form of Havard Gullickson. Heinz Braun will finish in 7th. Dennis Kyriakopoulos will finish this race in 8th. Aaron Sipos will finish in 9th in front of Samir Kadora, completing your top 10. Robert Woodward, series veteran in P11. Alexander Vermich in P12, Rudolf Nagel in P13, Juan Perez in 14th, Ryan Odo in 15th, Cesar Fernando Sayas will finish this race in P16, with Ole Gullickson completing your 17 car starters here in this race. Do want to give some love to Sebastian Lip, saying the quick time on lap 8, the fastest lap of the race, going out to him. So that's how it all lines up in week number 2 of the Radical Esports Cup Series. I think we will have the opportunity now to speak with our P2 finisher of Andre Castro after a hard-fought day in the cockpit. Andre Castro now joining us here in the broadcast booth. Andre, welcome in. It's second for you here in this race at Oulton Park, but the path to get there was far from straightforward. How was it out there?
It was comedy of errors, really, just messing up the start, and congrats to Peter. He was really fast in the race before, he ended up, getting a good start, and it was really tough to keep up with him. And I just overshot the corner, and it's tough. I mean, he's been getting faster, but it's for sure. It's like sometimes you feel like some of these guys are really good at one track for some reason, and that was him here. So good job to him, and ended up racing with Christoph, who I think has got his feelings hurt by close racing, but that's how he is. It's how it goes, and upset with myself for messing that one up. Lost a lot of iRating the 2 hours before this too. So Oulton kind of kicked my ass, but hopefully we can come back and see how it goes next time.
Well, this track was most certainly a tough one in these SR10s, but we have a bit of an unknown quantity to look forward to for the next round of the championship. Barcelona, they're in Spain. I have never seen these cars run around this racetrack. So what are your thoughts heading off into there? Because I feel like that is a true venture off into the unknown for everybody.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to be here, so I'm not too concerned about it. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens, I guess.
It'll be a shame to not see you out there on the racetrack, Andre, because I know you always bring the thunder, but keeping our fingers crossed that we will see you back out there on the racetrack between now and season's end. But as per usual, let you give any thanks or shout outs.
Yeah, thanks to BS Hybrid, thanks to RaceSpot coming back again for another season, and I'd like to be back in a couple weeks.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, thank you for joining us in the booth, Andre. Always love to have a chat, and looking forward to seeing you back out there on the racetrack, wherever it is in the not too far off future.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, that right there was Andre Castro, probably a little bit upset about the moment going on with himself and Christoph Lipp. I think I may have to call the burn unit after some comments made during that. But Jeremy, I think that's the only interview that we will have. But overall, a pretty fiery night, I think it's fair to say, here at Oulton.
You know, we knew there was going to be fireworks. We didn't know what kind of fireworks they would be. And here's the thing. This is a good track that races as a short track. So no surprise, we saw some drivers who are not too happy with themselves, not too happy with each other. But you know what? That's what happens when you race one another. You're gonna encounter some feelings. It's much like life. You just got to deal with it and roll with the punches.
Yeah, this track can bring out the best, it can bring out the worst, it can bring out every emotion in you and put on some incredible racing. But hey, folks, that'll just about do it for 2025 here. But in 2026, we're going to get started it off with a rather odd race. Circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya for week number 3 of this season of Radical Esports Cup action. And as per usual, same time, same place here on RaceSpotTV and the iRacing Esports Network for the 3rd week of the season. We've had 2 banger races, some upset winners, some reigning champions looking to return to form, and other drivers looking to return to championship contention. However, for one final time in 2025, for this broadcast here for week number 2 of the Radical Esports Cup here at Oulton Park, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Mullins, Jeremy Scott joining me in the commentary booth, and Ramiro Augustine Cisneros working on the cameras and the graphics and the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here on RaceSpotTV tonight, and we hope to see you all for the start of 2026 in just 1 week's time. Have a happy new year, everybody. We'll see you next week. Good night.